Well, welcome back this week again to another analysis behind the news. I want to talk about two things. The first one is aid to the Kurds in northern Iraq, who are fighting ISIS or ISIL, however you wish to use the term. And we are going in there and bombing certain areas so that they can come in and reoccupy their territory. All of this sounds very good, tugs at the heartstrings, we're helping minorities, that sort of thing. But one of the things about the Kurds that we have to understand is this, that they have what they call the Kurdish Workers Party, which has been subsequently renamed. I would invite all of you to go to Wikipedia, to the Kurdish Workers Party, and see the progression of their flag, from the hammer and sickle of communism to the red star, another symbol of communism, into the coalition of Kurds that exists today. Take note of, at the bottom of that reference, where they get their arms. And then go to the Kurds in general and see where they also get their arms. Go to this particular reference because it's the Peshmerga. And that's spelled P-E-S-H-M-E-R-G-A, Peshmerga, P-E-S-H-M-E-R-G-A. And they talk about them in this morning's Wall Street Journal, talking about how they are pushing back ISIS. But then when you read it, you realize that they're not pushing them back. Our airplanes are going in there and knocking out ISIS artillery and machine gun emplacements, trucks and vehicles, and then the Kurds are moving up after that. But go to Peshmerga and see also where they get their arms. And you'll see that Peshmerga is really a coalition. It is a standard name for the rebel forces of the Kurds, and what they have been doing over the years to fight Turkey, Iraq, Iran, etc., for their own homeland, so to speak. But you'll find out that they are supplied by the U.S.S.R., now Russia, China, and the United States, all of these entities. The Kurdish Workers Party is listed by many countries as an international terrorist organization, and some countries do not, such as Germany. So you'll find that, generally speaking, communist countries, ex-communist countries, or countries ruled by ex-communists, such as Germany, don't list them as a terrorist organization, the Workers' Party. The one thing about the Workers' Party is that it has been the main conduit out of Afghanistan of the opium trade and heroin trade into Europe. And that's how they get a lot of their money. Now, some deny that this is the case, but our research tells us it is the case. They are the conduit on through to Albania and subsequently into the rest of Europe. At any rate, the point I'm trying to make is this. I hope that what we are not doing by working against ISIS and these others is arming people who will be trouble for us in the future. We tend to have a problem doing that. We stir the pot, and then from day to day, month to month, year to year, we decide who the friends and enemies are going to be, and then we supply them with weapons that we regret doing. Just like ISIS, we regretted giving them weapons. Now they've got them. We may regret giving them to the Kurds as well. Don't know, but keep your eye on it. It's going to be a much developing situation. The second thing that I want to talk about is something that we have talked about for years. The John Birch Society and our magazine, The New American, has always held the opinion that the death of communism was phony. It was staged, and it was done to try and save the Soviet Union from total collapse, and where we would come in with investments and treat them as friends now that communism is dead, and so on and so forth. As many of you know, these communist countries were, they got rid of the top communist leader, but the second communist leader or the third communist leader was named the head of the new democratic government. At any rate, so for years, all these pundits and people in the United States government and everything else tried to tell us that now Russia was friendly. We didn't have to worry about them anymore. Communism is dead. Let's go in there with investment. Let's start integrating our economy with them, from Boeing and General Electric and any number of others. Well, now all of a sudden we see a change in this pattern. Suddenly these people are starting to agree with us. And you know, when establishment figures start agreeing with the John Birch Society, I get a little worried. You know, what are we doing wrong? And we're not doing anything wrong, but what they're doing is revealing to the world that Russia is, yes, it is a problem in the Crimea, Ukraine, and other areas. But they're using that, as we've pointed out before, to try and get people to support a merger of the United States with Europe, and in this case, building Russia back up into a Cold War situation, to where we feel that it's time now to stop the advance of the Russian bear by uniting with Europe. And so we see all sorts of different things. These books that come out, the second edition of the same book, a little bit revised. Some others like Russia Insurgent out of The Economist, which is not exactly a conservative publication. Here's one out of The Armchair General, Russia's New Cold War. Here's another one, and this one's really blatant, Time Magazine of last week, and the title on the page is Cold War II. And so they're building up this idea that the Russian bear has come back, it's a new Cold War, and we have to stop the advancement of Russia. And the way to do that is a resurgence of the West. And the resurgence of the West is how a transatlantic union can prevent war and restore the United States and Europe if we just get together into a major political entity through the Transatlantic Trade and Investment Partnership. And we see all sorts of people who told us about communism is dead. Senator Feinstein, Cold War. Business Insider, Russia and the U.S. moving towards a second Cold War. Here's one, World News, Cold War is back. Here's another one from Monday Morning, Cold War 2.0 is a financial war. U.S. renew Cold War rivalry, according to Al Zawahiri, the Arabic station. A new Cold War as Russia threatens food and flights from the Independent. All sorts of things. And meanwhile, we start to notice that policy papers and that sort of thing from think tanks are talking about the TTIP to block Russia from selling gas to Europe and breaking that addiction of Europe. If we just get together in the TTIP, here's another one from the European Commission itself. Strengthening the TTIP is a strategic vision for the United States and the EU, but not just trade, but a real partnership, as said in the title, that if we just unite, we'll be so strong the Russian bear dare not invade Ukraine, particularly if the Ukraine becomes part of the EU and the Marriott and McDonald's and Burger King go in there and invest in Ukraine. Putin will not want to do anything to upset that, and so he'll back off. That's the argument. Here's another one from the Johns Hopkins NITSE School of Advanced International Studies. And it's a working paper promoting the idea that the TTIP should not be simply an economic trade paper and an agreement, but actually the merger of a new political system between North America and Europe in the name of stopping Russia, in the name of a new Cold War. So they're using all sorts of arguments to try and get us involved in this partnership, and it will be a partnership, a merger. And that will mean the independence of the United States. And you can't have a constitution that functions as the United States Constitution if we lose our independence. Cannot happen. These are the sorts of things that are going on to set the stage for us to agree to something called a Transatlantic Trade and Investment Partnership. Very dangerous. And when you overlook this whole thing, the overview of it, It's pretty obvious what they're trying to do. It's not trade, it's not for the economy, it's nation building, internationalism, something to watch out for. Until next week, we'll see you then.